What's going on, people? It's your boy Cal Wu, and welcome back to Getting to Know Cal Wu. What up, though? Appreciate y'all for stopping through and rocking with me here at Planet Wu. Working really hard on a week-to-week basis and a daily basis to constantly bring content. If there's any other type of content that you guys want to see or interested in knowing my thoughts on it, just let me know in the comments below. Interact. The more y'all interact, the more love that I get, the more attention I get, then the more I can give, because that is the goal, is to constantly give more and more and more and more. That because I'm a giver. So now that we got that out of the way, we are going to continue on getting to know me and my journey through anime. So we're going to set this timeline between 2007 and 2010 is what I'm going to do. Yeah, 2007 and 2010 is where I'm going to set this timeline. So this timeline is really, really important because there was an entrance of a new challenger. So we still doing Blockbuster. We still doing MIRC. And as per last episode, the new and up and coming pirating site Crunchyroll is what we were using to watch all our anime content. And Crunchyroll was my first time using a website to pirate anime, which was insane because they literally had everything. So that was like, oh my goodness, and I don't have to download it anymore. But then in 2000 and was it 7? Yeah, 2007, we enter a new challenger. That is when Netflix came out and became a streaming service. So in this window of 2007 and 2009, I was getting my anime from 4 or 5 different sources, because around this time is when I also started working at the Skillman Library, which is a public library in Detroit. So I started working at the Skillman Library. The primary area that they had me working at in the Skillman Library was the children's room. So shouts out to Miss Carol. She is retired and doing really well with herself. And she was the children's librarian. And because she wanted to make sure that we were competing with numbers as the main library and some of the other branches, she started asking me for ideas of what type of material to bring into the library. So I started getting her to bring in manga and anime into the library, into the fold. So we actually had a library and manga section. So every time the library would get money and the children's library funds was allocated to her, she would allow me to pick anime and manga to add to the collection. So this is how I was also getting my intake of manga and anime, was because she was allowing me to have input in what the purchases would be for the children's library. So you couple that with Netflix, which is a new streaming service, with Crunchyroll, which is a pirating site, which is MIRC, and Blockbuster. So these are 5 sources right now that I have that I am getting anime from. And of course, at this time, I'm using Crunchyroll more than I'm using anything else. But then I kind of start getting into Netflix. So I was dating 9 women at the time in this age, and this is pretty much how I date. I don't, and when I say date, I don't mean like I'm smashing all of them or whatnot. I'm just like casually dating, trying to get to know them, taking them out to eat, yada yada yada. So around this time, like I told you in the last episode, I was working a lot of hours. So around this time, I was working 2 jobs. I was working at the library in the daytime, and then I was working at a group home for the handicapped at night. So I worked 3 days at this location. So I was going, there was a period of time in my life where I would go 3 days with no sleep. Wednesday, Thursday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I wouldn't sleep, and I wouldn't sleep until after work on Friday after I left the library. So this was like what my schedule was all week. So keeping up with the anime was a little difficult, but because we had streaming services like Netflix and I had Crunchyroll, I was able to keep up with stuff, and the library, renting stuff from the library. So I was on top of my anime, even though I was working like way more crazy hours. So the anime that I was getting into, around this time. Like I said, I was dating. So out of the 9 women, I was down to my ex and my son's mother, which is my ex fiance or ex wife or whatnot. And eventually she won. So then she had never watched anime before, so I started getting her into anime. So the first anime I introduced her to was it was my first time watching it too, but she was like into a lot of the teen stuff, so she was into like Vampire Diaries and Pretty Little Liars and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, let's see if I can find something in her wheelhouse. So the first anime I got her into was what was it? It was Rosario and Vampire was the first anime that I kind of got her into. So we started watching Rosario and Vampire, and she loved that. So then the next anime I got her into, because I was like, okay, she liked Vampire. So then I got her to watch Dance in the Vampire's Bun, and she loved that. So I'm like, all right, cool. Then we moved from that to some more action stuff. So then we got into Black Butler, and she loved the Black Butler. She, you know what I'm saying? And her thing was like, she loved Sebastian's pick up one line like, I'm one hell of a butler. Like, that was her shit. She loved it. Then we went from that and we got into Hellgirl, and she loved Hellgirl. And her thing was, and now it is time to die. So that was like a tagline that she loved. And every time they said it in anime, she would say it, and that became like our thing. And then we got into Kenichi. So then we got into Kenichi, the world's strongest disciple. And that instantly became her favorite anime. Like, you couldn't tell her shit. That was her favorite anime of all time, period. It don't matter what was on. Like, she got into Samurai Champloo and all these other ones, but it was just something about her that she loved Kenichi so much. Like, she loved Kenichi. And then, we started watching stuff because, and we also still was looking at Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network still had their bangers. So we were watching Naruto Shippuden, which we was watching on Crunchyroll, and TokyoMajin, because the library, I got the library to get that, and PumpkinScissor, because the library got that, and we started watching ShinChan and Code Geass and the Prince of Tennis and Le Cavalier d'Eon, which is something that Netflix has. So we started watching that on Netflix, and she loved that. And then we watched Claymore because we rented the first episode from Blockbuster, and she loved that. So then we kind of start watching that on Netflix as well. And Kazi no Stigma and Afro Samurai we was watching on Crunchyroll, and Moribito and Tenjo Tenge and Bacano and Devil May Cry and Soul Eater and Clannad and Hajime no Ippo and K-On! And Guin Saga. And Guin Saga became one of her favorites too. She loved Guin Saga. So, what else? And then we started getting into like more love stuff. So we got into Clannad, which is like really, really sad. We got into To Love Ru and Fairy Tail and Baka and Tess, which is like funny as all hell, and Speed Grapher and Speed Grapher. I'm sorry, not Grafter, but Grapher. King of Thorns and The Sacred Blacksmith. And the list just goes on and on and on. So we just watching all of these anime, and Needless and Darker Than Black, and she just started to become an anime fan. So this is where I stopped. This is where around this time is where I started like watching more dubs than subbed. Cause she was like, yeah, I'd rather listen to it. I don't really want to read. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. So this is when I started watching more dub than sub. Whenever I would watch with her, but when I would watch by myself, I would definitely watch it subbed. Because I still prefer the Japanese voices over the English voices. A lot of the English voices are bad. That is my personal opinion. I will not be one of those guys that's gonna put it off on other people, despite what my belief is, because I strongly believe that. And yeah, so this is around that time, and it was a great time. And then we're gonna slide a little bit into 2010 with this too, guys. I know I said 2007 and 2009. We're gonna slide to 2010, and the reason why 2010 was important is because my son was born in 2010, and this is to kind of caveat off of Kenichi being my son's mother's favorite anime. My son's name was almost Kenichi. Yeah, she was like, yeah, 14 hours in labor, and she was like, yeah, his name got to be Kenichi. So before the nurses, came around, I'm like, listen, this is my first son. I would love my first son to be a junior. Can he please get my name? So I told her that, and she was like, yeah, but second child we have got to be named Kenichi. I'm like, fair, cool, I will not argue. I will not argue with that. That's what we're gonna rock with. She's like, okay, cool. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So we got so to highlight this episode, we got we got two new sources of anime. The public library, which is the library I worked at, which was the Skillman Library. That's also where I met my son's mother. Netflix, because Netflix had just dropped in 2007, so that became a new challenger of where I watched my anime. And then I still had, Cartoon Network, MIRC, Blockbuster, and Crunchyroll. So I had 6 sources. I said 5 earlier. I had 6 sources of where I was watching anime and staying up to date on a lot of stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So why don't you share with me where you first started watching anime? I know for a lot of people, they started watching it on YouTube, where it was broken up into episodes, which was probably around this same time, around 2007, when they started, this episode part 1 and part 2 and part 3, and you had to search for it in that manner. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't gonna watch it in that manner. I'd have rather waited a week to download the episode on MIRC. Not gonna lie, or find it on Crunchyroll, which is where I was watching anime at, if I couldn't get it anywhere else. And then yeah, again, Throne of Nerds, the 28th is the next episode. On the 28th, please lock in if you're interested. You can even respond to this, because people are lazy and don't want to go to the website, which is planetwoo.com/throne to participate. I'm looking for 2 contestants. Just comment below if you're interested. Say, hey, I'm interested in Throne of Nerds. Give me a contact email or your Discord or whatnot, or you can inbox it to me, and I will reach out to you, and we gonna get that coordinated, because I still need 2 more contestants. And yeah, once again, I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Thanks again, Cal Woo from Planet Woo. Appreciate y'all. Peace.